What's up, family? It's Afro Angie for Kingdom and Community, and today we're going to talk all about Juneteenth. That's right, June 19th, 1865, the day that we recognize when all slaves were officially free. So I say that it's the day we recognize when all slaves were officially free because the Emancipation Proclamation had actually happened January 1st, 1863. So when the messenger brought the news to the slaves in Texas, they were actually already free, they just simply were not aware. And even in the message acknowledging their freedom, many were encouraged to stay on their plantations and work for wages with their former masters. Now you might think that after they were made aware of their freedom, they could all simply leave, right? Wrong. Many enslavers in Texas still oppressed the slaves' freedom for what was up to 3 years. Those who were enslaved by famous horse thief Alex Simpson were not allowed to be free until their master's hanging in 1868. The journey of leaving the plantation was also not so simple. Some slaves were beaten, lynched, and as former enslaved woman Susan Merritt recalls, some were even shot swimming across the Sabine River to freedom. Even though it has been over 100 years since Juneteenth, we find that many of us don't celebrate it as much as we should. Why is that? Even in the 1800s, after we were freed, and after what is known as the scatter, when many of those who were enslaved searched for other states to live, the rapidly emerging segregation laws made it almost impossible for the former slaves to celebrate their freedom. There were few to no public places or parks where the former enslaved people were allowed to celebrate. So in the 1870s, they pulled together about $800 and founded what is now known as the Emancipation Park in Houston. But because of the other challenges facing the newly freed men, the fight for equality overshadowed the celebration of freedom until about 1968. That same year in April, when Dr. King passed, many organizers were still fighting to fund the Poor People's March. But on June 19th of that year, they finally cut their organization short, and instead they decided to take home the celebration of Juneteenth to their respective communities. And what happened next was almost a new great migration, the celebration of Juneteenth nationwide. Now many of you may not know this, but there is actually a Juneteenth flag. And you guessed it, I'm wearing it right now. The flag represents an emerging new star, bursting in American colors. You see, the creator, Ben Haith, wanted it to be known that both the formerly enslaved people and their descendants were American, and their contributions to this land could not be overlooked or forgotten. A few of the traditions that we share on Juneteenth, one of the oldest and most famously known is the drinking of red beverages. Many believe that this is tied to the prohibition of drinking red drinks while we were on the plantation, but also, and more importantly, red beverages are tied back to West African traditions where they would brew the hibiscus or kola nut tea in celebration of a special occasion. Juneteenth is also celebrated with slave food delicacies, most notably the barbecue pit, or what we call the grill. And since most of the slaves were in the South, you see a lot of Southern traditions such as baseball, rodeos, so on and so forth. You can't forget the Negro spirituals and the celebration of spirituality. So there you have it, family. What is Juneteenth and why do we celebrate it? If you and your family are looking to celebrate this very valued holiday, you can partake in some of the traditions that I previously mentioned. Don't forget to add in your red drink to commemorate the resilience in bondage and to pay tribute to our West African traditions before we were brought to this land. Until next time, family, seek the kingdom and serve your community.